the hell with this. Let's shoot a video. Well, I was going to shoot an unboxing video in this, but I got some footage on it now I'll talk about it later. It's just too dang hot to be out in the garage. It's 100 and I don't know how much out here. It's only like 80 something degrees, but the humidity and all that kind of stuff, heat index, it's ridiculous. Plus it's raining out there. Let's go inside where it's nice and cool and comfortable so I can babble for a long period of time and really bore you. Oh man, this is a lot better. Whew. Boy, it's hot out there. Projects are going to be long and going to take a while to show up. Do I need to put my Casey Neistat shades on? How's that? Nah. Excuse me, got projects all over the place. As you can tell, we have a new edition. And been a long time coming. When I was a kid, I grew up with Norm in the Yankee workshop. When other people were sitting in the bars in the evenings, having a cold one or two, they'd be sitting there, and as you'd walk by the bar, you'd hear them talking about the Cubs here, the Sox here, you know, the Bears here, whatever was going on. In the corner by the pinball machine, you'd hear a conversation between my cousin Mike and I, and they'd be talking about all the new tools that Norm got, or how to make a compound miter cut, or did you see that project he made? That was pretty good, and things like that. So, Norm has been a big influence in my life. Not, you know, I'm not taking anything away from my dad because he was a carpenter too, and he had a lot of influence on me also, but Norm was like a TV hero. So during that time, Delta was the main sponsor. And so it's kind of been ingrained in my head, and I've gotten to the point that all during my life that kind of the holy grail of power saws was a Delta. Well, it came time and I needed a new saw. It was just going to cost way too much money to update the one from Uncle Burton. So it went on to another group of people. It was donated, cleaned up real nice, waxed it and everything, sent all the parts that are with it, so it was kind of like we're starting all over again. And we picked up this Delta model 36.725 table saw from Lowe's. This is their entry-level saw, and there have been some quality consistencies if you read all the different reviews and reports and things on it. But I gotta say that the install went pretty good on this one. I had planned on doing an assembly video and all that kind of stuff, but it's so hot, and I did it in installments. I may put in a few screws here and there, this, that, and the other, and it's like, and then I go back in, cool off a little bit, and stuff like that. So I didn't take anything like that. But there's a few things that I wanted to highlight. I did kind of do an initial unboxing that I'm going to show, probably up in the corner, where when we got it, it was the box had been damaged. When I opened it up, it had stuff kind of strewn around the top, strewn around the top of it. So I wanted to document that in case I had ran into any kind of problems. But nothing else, it's just kind of interesting footage. One of the interesting parts about this is that we had ordered this last week, and they said that it was going to take about 7 days to get because they didn't have any in stock, and they had one coming in, being shipped. Okay, so we bought it and paid for it, and we sat around, and the date that we were supposed to get it, or that they said they were going to get it, was either Friday or Saturday. So we had been waiting for either a phone call or an email or text message, something telling us that the saw was there. Well, we didn't hear anything. So we had a couple other projects that we did over the weekend, and we made a run to Lowe's. And the first time we went there, it was the service area was kind of crowded, and by the time we got done getting what we wanted and everything like that, we kind of forgot about checking our tails off. Well, we come home, started doing the project, and realized, well, there's a few other things that we needed to do. So we packed everything up, or we packed up, and we went over to Lowe's again. And because the pickup truck doesn't have an air conditioner at the present time, because it's been sitting so long, it doesn't, and I don't drive it that much, you know, just to get lumber and stuff back and forth like that, so I don't really see a need to put AC in it until this week. And I think I might have to seriously think about getting some AC, having the AC fixed. And so, anyway, we went back over there to check it out, and they said, oh yeah, we have it in stock. This is after waiting around and everything like that. And I was like, oh, okay, well, we gotta go back to get the truck to haul it over. And we mentioned to them that we didn't get any kind of information, you know, any kind of knowledge or anything like that saying that we got it. They said, oh no, it's a normally in stock item, so we're not going to notify you when it comes in. I had paid for that booger. That was mine. You should have been calling up and saying, hey, your SAR is here. But they didn't, but that's okay. So, a little synopsis of putting it together. I only ran into a couple of glitches. The first one was the boxes, you know, everything was kind of knocked around in the box, but I took everything out and everything was there. And one of the things that I noticed that was really nice is they had every one of the bags that went for each sub-assembly was numbered, or I'm sorry, it was lettered, and all the parts were in there. And they associated in the instructions with the bag. The instructions were very straightforward, for the most part. They missed a few things that they kind of omitted, but it was pretty much common sense stuff that you can catch on, especially if you've done a saw before, recently. So the first thing that came up was you put the legs together, because it comes into two pieces, you put them together and then you drop it into the main frame. Well, I kept the main frame in the box in the styrofoam to protect the top, and two, you know, everything's going to work top up, and then once I get it all set up, I just flip it over and take the rest of that apart. So okay, so I went and I put that together, dropped it down in there. There was a hole on the side. I put the hole in, to put the bolt in, and the bolt wouldn't go through. I looked on the other side, and there's no hole. Well, what is this? Well, I played around, and discovered that what they had done, and which was probably a really good idea, was they had taken and put a little piece of tape over the hole, so that when they powder coated the cabinet and subsequently also the legs, the powder coat didn't fill in and fill the hole up. That's a good idea. The idea was then I had to figure out how to get that little piece of tape out of there. Well, I dug around. Finally figured out that you could take a small screwdriver, a real small screwdriver, shove it through the hole, and one side would crinkle up a little bit, the other side would pop open, and they'll come right out. You had to do it you also had to take the legs out and do it to the holes in the legs like that, so this way you had a clean hole. Well, after I figured all that out, I had to pull that leg assembly out. Once that leg assembly gets inside that cabinet, it is a dog to get out of there with one person. And that's basically because of leverage and things like that. But I got it all apart, shoved it all in, and I had one that I had a real hard time with because I kept going through styrofoam. Now, I don't know if they fill that cavity in that that's holding the cabinet together, the round tube part that doesn't have anything in it, with styrofoam, or if that's just styrofoam that got plugged up in there when they were packaging it or whatever. But it was kind of a hassle getting through it. But once I got through the styrofoam, everything went together. The rest of it went together, no problems. I was really dreading putting on the metal plates, the wings, because there was some bad vibes about that. Well, the instruction manual was kind of funny because if you read the instructions, it tells you to put in 2 bolts on either side. And there's 3 holes in the plate. In the instruction manual, it shows you putting in 3 bolts. And they give you 6 bolts. Well, that's because they're both right. One side, everything lines up okay, you put in the 3 bolts and it all locks in. The other side, you can only put in 2 bolts. And you end up with 1 spare. Now, there's probably a way to get fancy and put it in there and everything else like that, but I couldn't get it to line up. It was off just a little bit. So like, okay. So I got 2 bolts on one side, I got 3 bolts on the other. It's lining them up is not that difficult. You take I've got these real long aluminum levels. You just clamp them to the bed, the cast iron part, and you clamp the other parts up, and it comes into flush, and then you tighten it all up. It went together. There was no problem whatsoever. The next concern was putting on the split rail. There's a set of angle iron, 2 different sizes, one for the front, one for the back, and that's what the rip fence runs on. Well, there's a part that connects to it and things like that. And I heard some stuff about it being hard to set up and everything like that. Well, it was no problem at all. They put in, they give you a little setup gauge, and you set it up and it works fine. I had no problem with that. Everything went together very well. It was pretty much painless. The only one other aspect of it is that there are 2 on the side of the legs that you have the wheel on. There's 2 pads that sets down on, and those are your levelers also. One of them was the nut in it was welded a little bit crooked, and had some flashing in it, and it made it a little tighter to screw in. But it's not like it didn't cross thread. It wasn't anything like that. It's just a tighter fit. So I didn't worry about it too much, and it wasn't a problem until I started. If I would have known then what I know now, I would have run a tap through it, because it makes it a lot harder to adjust it to get it to level out right. But it wasn't that big a deal, and it leveled out real well. I didn't have any problem with it. Everything was pretty square. The miter gauge, or not miter gauge, the rip fence was off. It wasn't parallel, when I put it on, it wasn't parallel to the miter slot. I got that all parallel up to the miter slot, and it threw off. It either threw off or it was off already. It being perpendicular to the table. So I readjusted and everything, got everything all level or all perpendicular. Went back and it was off again. So I had to go back and forth between these 2 adjustments until I got both of them right on the money. And they're fine. They're great. They're locked down. Everything works great. The blade was parallel with the miter slot. There wasn't a problem. I am 0.00, I think it's 3 or 4 longer on one side. So that's what, a few thousandths? That's not that big a deal for cutting wood. It was square. I don't go from stop to stop. I don't set the stops, although you can do it right from the top. Normally I use a protractor, electronic protractor to set my angles on the bevel, so I didn't mess with that. The handles and everything all work good. The other thing that they have in there is when they pack it, because the thing, it's beveling the whole assembly moving, they take and they kind of press fit the motor and all that assembly again between the top and that motor with a big block of styrofoam. As you're looking in there, you can see it. If you're not experienced with doing something like this, you'll sit there and go, well, how the heck am I going to get that out of there? It's real easy to do. All you do is tilt the blade a little bit, it loosens it up, and it pops right out. Nowhere in the instruction manuals does it say to do this. The only way that you know that is if you read the tag. There's a tag hanging off the wheel that says, hey, don't forget to take the piece of styrofoam out of here. Otherwise, everything was fine. I ran into a time where I put a couple of bolts in the wrong spot, but I caught it and changed them over, and everything went into it. It lined up real well, and everything worked real good. After I had to play around to get the fence perpendicular to the table, I started getting some rubbing and binding. And what it is when I turned it and I moved it, the two sides of the fence are like slotted and adjustable. They're replaceable. So all I did was I loosened them up, raised them up a little bit so there's a little bit more clearance in them, and they were running back and forth. They're working fine. They're not rubbing on anything, nothing at all. I turned it on. It runs good. It's quiet, and that's as far as I got. So I hope you enjoy this. I kind of had fun making a video. I had fun putting this together, and I'm really looking forward to owning my affordable Holy Grail. And stay tuned, because I'm pretty sure that you're going to see that saw in action a lot. And I bet you I'll be filling you in with another product review. So until then, hope you all have a real good day. Oh, and if you like this, don't forget to hit the mash button down below. And if you're a new person, and you want to hear more of this real good and interesting stuff, then go ahead and hit the subscribe button. And until the next time we get together, y'all have a real good day.